Hey there, welcome back to Farmcraft. I'm John. This is my little arborist chainsaw. This is a Stihl MS-192T, and I've had this saw for about 20 years. I use it a lot. A little bit of trouble with it lately. Intermittently, I'm getting leakage from the primer bulb. So we're going to tear into that. That's the least of my problems today, though. This is my big chainsaw. Now this one, in a recent video, I dropped out of a tree. It still works. I've been using it several times since, but I do think that I broke the fuel tank because when I lay it on its side, it leaks. So I'm going to need to fix something in there. I'm not sure what yet. So we'll tear that apart. And then, oh, by the way, that saw is also about 20 years old. Both of these have been very good saws to me. You know, if you have equipment for a long time and you use it a lot, it's going to need repairs and maintenance. That's just the way it is. Now this...
I had originally intended for this video to be a repair of 3 chainsaws, but 2 of the 3 repairs ended up being more involved than I expected. I know, shocking that something would be harder than I thought it would be. So this video is going to be about fixing the first 2 saws, and then we're going to test them out on a huge red oak tree. Next week, we're going to get into this 3rd saw. They all have totally different problems, and that 3rd saw definitely deserves a video all on its own.
I want to see what I did to that fuel tank. A little bit of crud came with it. Probably should have taken the bar off first, but I don't know. I get too excited. So I see a little crack right there. Doesn't look like much of a crack though, but it could be extending up underneath this handle. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to put a little bit of gas back in it just to see where it's coming from, but let's rip and tear a little bit more. This is going to be a pretty involved job because it's this entire thing that needs to come off of here. I'm pretty sure I see it. Right in this corner here, I can see there's a crack right there. Goes right up through that corner. What a piece of junk. It can't take a 40-foot fall out of a tree. Yeah, and just in case there's any people out there wondering, that's sarcasm. I really am very happy with this saw. I have put this thing through the ringer and it has continued to work for me in spite of being abused. And not intentionally, but just, you know, things happen. You know how you buy tools and sometimes you regret the money you spent on them? That's never been the case with this saw. It's an expensive saw, but if I needed another one, I'd buy another one and I wouldn't think twice. Not a sponsor, just an honest opinion. Let's see if we can see it. Yep, that's the spot. Coming out right there. It's just right in that corner there. I'm almost tempted to try to fix it. Let's look on the inside and see how it looks. Oh, there it is. Ew.
I also see some cracks over here. They're not causing leaks, but the structure is definitely compromised. And it looks like I could stand to clean out the fuel tank.
So I've been thinking on this one a little bit. It is possible a lot of these tanks and all the plastic on these saws is made out of thermoplastic. In other words, you can melt it back together and actually get a good result with that. I was hoping I'd just be able to buy the tank. You end up buying the handle, the tank, this area, and it goes up underneath. So it's a big part. So I may actually try fixing this. They make aftermarket versions of this that are for like 60 bucks. And to get the original is going to end up costing me a couple $100, probably more. So it's probably worth trying to fix it. Screw on the side. Green wire goes in the front toward the handle, black toward the back. And actually they're different size. I remember that from last time, so you can't put that together wrong. Good design. So it extends underneath, and I can see it's cracked there too. Ah. I want this saw to be dependable, so I'm not going to be... I'll give this a try at fixing it. If it doesn't work, I'm going to replace it. I do think it's worth a try, because I'd have to keep tearing this saw down quite a ways. It's Saturday, so then I'll wait till Monday. I'll tell the dealer I need the part. They won't have it in stock. I'm going to have to wait. It'll be $250. It'll be a week before I get it back. If I can just fix this now, I can have this saw back in action today. So I think you'll probably be able to see. I'm going to put soapy water on here. I want to put it on that too. I'm putting it down here too, just to make sure that's not leaking as well. Blow some air directly into the fuel tank. That's a pretty obvious leak. First thing I need to do is get all the oil off of here. This is brake cleaner. I did test it on a small area. It's not doing anything to this plastic. And I wouldn't expect it to. I mean, this has gasoline and oil in it all the time. And that's a very dirty brush. The crack goes about from right there, comes out, and then along here to there. So I am going to take a torch, I'm going to heat up the end of a screwdriver, not blazing hot, not red hot, but just hot enough to melt the plastic. Now I've just got a little piece of wire. I kind of smooth the end of it, and I'm going to try to just sort of push the plastic into that corner.
They actually make tools for this purpose called plastic welders. You can also use a good quality soldering iron where you can set a precise temperature. It would do a better job.
You know, that doesn't look half bad. Now the question is, if I put some soapy water on it, and then put a little pressure in the tank, well, you can see I'm still leaking up here, but I'm not leaking where I was. That whole ledge of plastic right there is really not, just the outer bit is not really necessary. It's not doing anything. Thinking about using it.
If I had this to do over again, I would do one thing that I think would make this a lot better, and that is use a piece of steel wool every time I heat the tool and clean it off. I think what's happening here, the reason it's turning black, is because plastic is sticking to the tool, and then when I reheat with the torch, that plastic is burning and making soot and carbon, and then I'm basically rubbing it back onto the plastic when I re-melt. I wish I had thought of this when I was working on it, but I didn't. I think if you could keep that soot out of there, it not only would it look better, but it would probably be stronger. You can see how black this piece of wire has gotten. Clean it off, you idiot.
Got it. No more leak. This video is sponsored by AG1. AG1 is a nutritional supplement that provides foundational support for your brain, your body, and your gut. I'm no spring chicken anymore, so I need all the help that I can get. And it's really helpful that the experts at AG1 have gone out there and picked all the good supplements and put them together into one product that covers all my bases and skipped all the scams and everything that doesn't really do anything. I've talked about my friend Peter before. He's a professional tree worker. He's actually the guy who taught me most everything I know about tree work too, by the way. But he's been using AG1 for the past year, and he's been really enjoying it. Jennifer and I have been using it for the last month, and we really like it too. It's really quick and easy in the morning and has kind of an interesting flavor. It's like earthy and fruity at the same time. I find myself kind of looking forward to it. But the big thing is it helps me sustain my energy throughout the day. Like I said, I need all the help that I can get. So go to drinkag1.com/farmcraft101 or scan the QR code here to get your free welcome kit that includes a canister, a shaker, a year's supply of vitamin D3, and 5 travel packs of AG1. I've got a lot of work to do, so thanks to AG1 for keeping my energy up and helping me to get it done. Speaking of work, let's get back to it. Now, I could just call that done, and that might actually work for a long time. Rather than just leave it like it is, to give it every chance of success, I'm going to use some PC7 epoxy and kind of reinforce that whole area. Now, I've used PC7 in all sorts of repairs like this in the past, and it has impressed me. I know Project Farm did a epoxy review, and it seemed that JB Weld was just as good, but not in my experience. I've seen this stuff do stuff that JB Weld just simply won't. But, you know, whatever. Everybody's got their preferences. This is my go-to for all sorts of things.
Here I put water on the tool that allows you to smooth the epoxy without it sticking.
Well, while that epoxy is setting up, I'm going to go ahead and get to work on chainsaw number 2. Ooh, that one's pretty dirty. So while I'm here, I'm going to check the spark arrestor. Basically, there's a little screen in the exhaust that keeps sparks from shooting out of the exhaust and starting a fire, because oftentimes there's lots of little flakes of wood around a chainsaw. That screen looks fine. If it's all caked up and dirty, you can just take a torch to it, heat it up red hot, blow it off, and it'll be good. I'll blow this one off anyway. Probably see that screen looks good, so we can put that back. So this is what I need to change, so let's get this cover off. I think I could use a little clean out as well. Alright, let me get these cleaned up. See the crack in that? That's no bueno. Got some tabs on the back that should release it. There we go. Here you can see right into that thing. So we're going to get a new one. Alright, so I got a new primer bulb for this. It was $7. I think this is one of those things where buying the cheapo ones off of Amazon and eBay is probably not worth your while.
It's worth noting that these primer bulbs can be installed backwards. Notice there is one long barb and then one short barb. On my saw, the long barb goes on the top, as you can see when I took it out. Now the way this bulb is set up, it's not supposed to fill up with fuel when it's pumping, but it is working.
So you want to make sure that little hole there is not blocked, because that's what gets the oil, that's where the oil travels to get to your chain. Now for tensioning a chain, see I'm pulling up on the bar a little bit, and you can see I've got some slack there. You just want to tighten it just until that slack is taken up and the chain touches the bottom of the bar. So you can still pull it away. You don't want it tighter than that. You might as well see if this thing's going to start. right. That was the easiest one, but it's done. Hey, Dozer. You're a lucky dog. Did you know you were a lucky dog? You know why you're a lucky dog? Because your parents are beef farmers. There you go, buddy. The first time I gave him one, when I came towards him after, he growled a little bit, like he was going to protect his food. And of course I took it from him and put an end to that. And he's been perfect ever since. Hey, buddy. He's like, don't take my bone. I won't take it from you. So how does the repair look? I think it looks pretty darn good, actually. That epoxy's nice and hard. That PC7's good stuff. I think this is going to last a long time. If it doesn't, if this thing ever gives me trouble, I'll give you guys an update in one of my videos in the future to let you know. But I have patched many things with this PC7 in the past and had really good luck, even patching like gearboxes and stopping oil leaks and things like that. I've done that several times, actually, come to think of it. So yeah, let's get this thing back together. That is a tough one for me to film. I think you can see that little hook going through the little control arm on the carburetor for the throttle. And then on the upper end, it hooks right there onto the trigger. Yep. Put some fuel in it, see if it leaks. Well, if it's going to leak, we're going to find out. Well, that's not what I wanted to see. Damn. Still leaking. All right. Where is this thing leaking from? Well, it's not leaking through my repair. So where is it leaking? Oh man. It's leaking because some idiot didn't put it together right. See that? That hose barb off of the carburetor is supposed to go on that hose, which is the fuel tank. So of course, if you tip it right, it's going to leak out of that hose. Yeah, that was really stupid. That's a little better. All right, take two. Does it leak? And the answer is no. It used to be I couldn't lay it on its side like that without it leaking all over the place. And we're good.
I scoped the tank again after the repair to see how it looked on the inside, and really no different. I thought about trying to reach in here and melt it from this side as well, but it's a tough area to access and I was worried I would mess it up more than I would help.
I think I'm going to let it sit like that for a little while, just to make sure we've got it fixed. Alright, it's been sitting for a while, and I see no evidence of leaking. So I think we're good on this. I did have a little heart attack there. I thought I rushed it too fast and missed something on the tank. I was thinking if I found a total different area that was leaking, I would try to repair that as well. But if it was the area that I repaired, I was just going to end up buying a new tank, which means new handle and all the other stuff. Anyway, yeah, I think that's good. If I ever have any problems with this, I will definitely report it on the channel. I think it's interesting to know things like that and to know if they actually work. Now, I'm pretty hard on chainsaws, obviously, so yeah, this will be a good test. Here we are along one of my trails back in the woods, and this giant red oak tree, pretty big tree, fell right across it. This is a good time to put these saws that I fixed back to work and make sure that they do work properly. Now, I always get comments whenever I use this saw one-handed. Yes, it's a chainsaw. Yes, it's safer to use it two-handed, but this is a top-handle arborist saw. They are used one-handed by professionals all the time, and they were designed to be able to use one-handed. This is the kind of saw that you would use when you're climbing a tree and you're limbing up in the tree. You really need a saw that you can use one-handed. Anyway, enough yakking, let's get this thing cleaned up. Now all the little stuff, I'm going to use the little saw. Doesn't wear you out nearly as bad, and then once I get into the bigger limbs, I'll start using that bigger saw right there. All right, let's see if our primer bulb works. Usually 3 pumps and this thing will start pretty well. I'm going to kind of do a review of my cutting strategy that I covered in my How to Chainsaw Like a Boss video, because you do have to think about things. You don't just come in here and just cut haphazardly. I am thinking through things on what I cut, what I don't cut. So let's go through that real quick and then I'll get this cleaned up. I'm looking at the tree and the way it's laying. I do not want it to start rolling while I'm in here working on it. So I left that outer limb so it can't roll that way. And here it's solidly on the ground and plenty of big limbs. Left those all attached. So that tree is not going to move. So I'm just trying to pick off all the other stuff that I can get to, the small stuff.
I'm also looking closely at each limb before I cut it to see if there's any tension on it, and to make sure that if anything springs free, it's not going to come towards me.
I'm going to throw all the small stuff over there. This stuff I've cut to lengths for my wood boiler, and those are going to go on my wood pallet. So you kind of want to do it in stages. I cut a lot of this junk out of the way. Now I'm going to clean all this up
so that I'm not stumbling through a bunch of loose wood. And then I'm going to take those out and cut this limb that's really one of the major supports of the trunk right now, cut it back a bit, and then I'm going to drop that one to get this thing that's over my head. But you know, it's perfectly safe right now. It's a limb over your head just like any other limb up on a tree. This thing fell recently. It's not like all rotten or anything. And when I drop that, I'm going to do the cut from the bottom part way, then cut from the top so that it comes straight down. I've covered that in previous videos, and you'll see it keeps it from splintering and allows it to separate, makes a cleaner cut. All right, so I've got all that cleaned up. I find I'm much more efficient, and it's actually more pleasant if you change what you're doing more often. So cut a little, clean it up, cut a little, clean it up, and it keeps you from tripping all over everything. You're more efficient when you're cutting, and I don't know, doing the same thing over and over and over for a long time wears me out. So this limb here, you can see that it splits into two. It's solidly on the ground there. So I have no concern of this thing rolling if I cut it to here. So I'm going to get rid of all of that, and then this one that's hanging out, I'll get that one. Maybe clean up a little bit over there, and then we're going to come back and get these. Going to give the big saw a try. You can see the repair sticking out right there. It's totally full of fuel. I have not had any leaks since I repaired it. So you can see this technique here. I cut up from the bottom, the limb just starts to sag. Get your saw out before it gets pinched, and then cut from the top. You create a little hinge that ends up breaking off, and then cut the hinge off at the end. No splintering. Why can't it really be that fast? All right, I didn't think to bring my longer bar. This tree's bigger than I thought, but I'm gonna go try to cut it off at the base and see if I can't drag this thing out of here. I don't think it has a lot of force on it, but I know that tree is there in this root ball, that the hill slopes that way. So the concern is it jumping down. I don't see it coming up. My bar is not going to reach all the way across. So what I think I'm going to do is go to the downhill side, cut that all the way through, and then I can come up here and I'll be doing the final cut there in relative safety. Yeah, see, this root ball here would prevent that from coming this way. And I really don't think there's any like sideways forces on it, but I'm going to pay attention as I cut just to be sure. Since the bar won't reach all the way across, there's plenty of tree left. I don't think it's going to pinch me or anything, so I'm just going to come straight down, full bar right there. So as I'm making this cut, I'm watching the kerf of the cut, the root ball in the tree to see if there's any movement at all, trying to gauge if there's some pressure on this tree that I'm not aware of.
I don't think it's going to pinch me because of that root ball.
It actually came toward me a little bit.
Wow, read that wrong.
Yeah, I read that wrong. I thought you guys were about to get crushed for a second there. See a little staining of the wood. The stump looks like it was rotting, and the trunk isn't that great. You know, I find with something like this, I could make lumber out of that, but I don't need any red oak. I do need firewood. So this is great firewood. So that's what this is going to end up being. Normally, I wouldn't be so excited about a log this big, but with my new log splitter, that'll just be fun.
Now this is a tall order. That's a big tree. I don't know if this thing will be able to drag it, but we'll give it a try.
I took a little hand plane, smoothed it out so I could see, and counted, and it's just over 100 years. Pretty old tree.
Well, there you go, guys. Both saws worked great. The tree is mostly cleaned up. I have a little more work to do, but I'm going to spare you that. And this thing is not leaking any fuel. Look, still not leaking any fuel. You know, if it can't take a little bit of a thump, and it's not really fixed, is it? So like I said, I will definitely post if I have any problems with this in the future, and I'll come back to this video and add it into the description as well. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one.